Okay, so here we are with lesson number 4, Vision in Space. And this really is the beginning of all our future conversations when it comes to being a defensive driver. And this will all kind of reveal itself as we go along in today's lesson. So the first thing we want to do is just get some vocabulary some words into our vocabulary. So we have over here line of sight, path of travel, target area, and targeting path. And let's go through these and try to match them up. So space, the space you will occupy, what will that be? Will that be a line of sight, the path of travel, target area, targeting path? And I'm going to reveal these to you in just a minute. But think to yourself right now and try to answer these as best you can. The section of the roadway where the target is located, where would that be? So now we're talking about the roadway itself. Letter C, distance you can see ahead in the direction you are going. Letter D, a fixed object seen in the center of the path. You will intend to drive. 20 to 30 seconds in the future is when you will arrive at that object. So 20 to 30 seconds ahead of you. And letter E, the path the car will travel when focused on the target or target area. Okay. Right, these are our definitions. Right, so the distance, so line of sight is the distance you can see ahead in the direction you are going, right? Path of travel, what do you think? The space you will occupy, that's the space on the road itself, okay? Target. If you picked D, you got that right. The fixed object, 20 to 30 seconds ahead of us that we are aiming at, right? Target area. If you picked B, you have that correct. The section of roadway where the target is located. And our targeting path is the path the car will travel when focused on the target area. Okay, let's move on. Now we have some more. These are going to get increasingly important as we continue on in our course. We have words like separate and compromise and space cushion and 3 to 4 second rule. Over here on the other side, we have our definitions. A safe distance between the driver's own vehicle and any other vehicle that may be in front, along either side, or to the rear. We have B, adjusting speed or position to deal with one risk at a time. Letter C, a method for judging safe following distance at any speed. This time should elapse between the time a vehicle clears a given point, usually a telephone pole or a post, something on the side of the road, and the following vehicle clears the same point. That's the following vehicle is us. Letter D, accepting the least of the risks present when multiple risks that are present cannot be separated. Okay. And I have a little bit of a different definition for that. Well, let's go through it. So separate, okay, you're going to see here, means adjusting your speed or your position, often both, to deal with one risk at a time. Okay. Compromise, and I'm going to give you a little bit of this too. Compromise is when you can't separate risks, and yet you're going to deal with the least dangerous of those risks. Okay. Now I like to look at it like this. Compromise, separate is when you have to slow your car down, often move at the same time, but you don't have to come to a complete stop, and you don't have to totally give up your right of way to, or the rights to the roadway. Compromise, you are literally giving up your right to your to the roadway so that you're not going to have an accident. Okay, so that could be coming to a complete and utter stop because let's say something's in the way of your path of travel and you can't go around it because that would be very, very dangerous. Okay, so compromise is accepting the least of the risks present when multiple risks that are present cannot be separated. I don't like saying that only because it sounds to me like you have to make a choice between making a head-on collision with a car coming into your path of travel or hitting a guardrail or something like that. And that's not likely to happen, but I can think of hundreds of situations when you have to compromise and give up your right to the roadway to something that should not be there, and it could be uh, a stopped garbage truck, for example, in your lane, and you have to come to a complete stop before going around that garbage truck. Okay. Space cushion, if you guessed, a safe distance between your vehicle and any other vehicle around your car, okay, in front, on either side, or to the rear, that is space cushion. Now, I like to call the space cushion as what you have in front of you, and I like to measure in time, and what you have behind you, again, measured in time. Is that car behind you 1 second away? Is it 2 seconds away? And I like to call the sides not so much space cushion as outs, because that's where you're going to go if something in front of you happens or something behind you happens. Okay, so that is space cushion, and we're going to discuss that in more detail. And we have our 3 to 4 second rule, which is this: a method for judging safe following distance at any speed. Okay, this time should elapse between the time a vehicle clears a given point, a post, for example, and the following means your vehicle when that clears it. Okay, you should be discussing and practicing all of these with your parents. And today's lesson is going to teach you a little bit better, a little bit more of how to discuss them with your parents. And we want to use these words when we're in the car. Okay, let's go to field of vision. And we can see that there are basically 3 types of field of vision. We have at our very sides, if you hold out your hands, okay, on either side of you, to the point where you can't see your hands moving around, now close your arms just a little bit so they're going in front of you a little bit until you can see your fingers wiggling. That there is your peripheral vision. We're all born with it. We have it, and it comes in handy. I'll be discussing a story about this later on in this lesson. Okay. Then we have something called fringe vision, which is if you move your hands a little bit closer and you see your fingers wiggling, but you don't have to move your eyes at all. You see that they're there. You see all 5 of them, but they're not like really in sharp focus. That is our fringe vision. So you can see that is a narrower angle, right? So maybe 45 degrees on either side. And then you have your central vision, and this is our vision that is right there, focused really well. If you have your hands in front of you, you can see like the little wrinkles in your fingers and so on, and whether or not you need to clip your fingernails. And that is our central vision. That's for targeting. That's for reading signs. Okay, so fringe vision is for viewing a path of travel. So we get the big picture of what's going on. And our peripheral vision is to make, that's important for us so that it warns us if something strange is about to, come on the roadway, for example. So, and that detects motion and color changes, right? So but it's a good warning feature for us. That's why we still have it. We've evolved that way. But when it comes to driving, let's look at what it says here. The task of driving is 90% visual input. Our visual acuity is so integral to being safe and defensive drivers, okay? Being great drivers. Let's keep moving along here. Space cushion. So here we are. We're back at space cushion. So I'm going to read this and then we're going to talk about it a little bit more. A space cushion is a buffer around your vehicle that you maintain to allow room to maneuver, if necessary. Know what is in your space cushion. You should know this really at all times. This is what good drivers do. They don't just fall asleep, and start yapping with their friends. They are constantly moving their eyes, using their mirrors, making little head checks to make sure there's nothing in their outs, or if there is something in their outs, and literally monitoring what's happening behind them, okay? And also monitoring what's directly in front of them, okay? Monitoring is an excellent word here, and that's your eyes are constantly focused right ahead, right? Getting the big picture, what's ahead of you, looking in our mirrors, right? Looking in that rear view mirror. Is there a car approaching, right? Is there a vehicle approaching? Using our side mirrors to see when that vehicle starts to move into another lane to pass us, for example, right? Or if we're passing a vehicle, to keep, excuse the bell, sorry about the bell, to keep our, to keep monitoring the cars that we pass, okay? The extra space will help you move or maneuver in case of an emergency or hazardous situation. If you do not have an adequate space cushion on all sides, you must be extra alert. Okay? Imagine a situation when you're driving on like I often do, on the Van Wyck Expressway going to JFK Airport. The cars are literally, there's almost no space cushion whatsoever. The cars are almost right touching each other, okay? And it's not just in front of me and behind me, it's also on the right and left. There is minimal space cushion. That means I need to be extremely alert. What does that mean? I need to be extremely alert to see first, whenever the vehicle in front of me touches its brakes and I see the brake lights go on, I need to more or less do the same thing. Definitely take my foot off the accelerator. Okay. And I also have to look in my rear view mirror and make sure the vehicle behind me has recognized that I put on my brakes and he's doing the same thing and not going to slam into me, right? I'm also looking for cars that are cutting into my lane or moving out of my lane because that's going to affect my space cushion and cars stopping or accelerating. Okay. That's just an example of when you need to be extremely cautious, right? And I'll even put that extra alert. Okay. So try to maintain a space cushion in the front and at least on one side of your vehicle, right? So, and always monitor your space cushion. And at this level, we should be verbalizing our space cushion to our instructor or our parents, and say, okay, I've got a space cushion ahead of me. This is commentary driving. My space cushion is 2 seconds ahead of me. Looking in the rearview mirror, looking back to the front of the road, looking back again. I got around 1-2 seconds of space cushion behind me. My out on my right looks pretty good. There's no cars in my out directly to my right or in front to my right. To my left, I've got a little bit of an out, but it's behind, it's either right next to me or a little bit behind me. So, and we want to constantly be commentating on this, okay? Especially if we are on, a place where we have a lot of outs and we have some decent space, okay? If we're in tight traffic, excuse the bell. If we're in tight traffic, we would be talking about, okay, my space cushion, I have no space cushion in front of me. I have no space cushion behind me. I have no outs on either side of me. I'm going to be extra alert to this and, maintain my speed and be very vigilant about the vehicle in front of me turning on its brakes. And now let me see if I can change the page while I have this marker up. I cannot. Okay, so I need to go back to this. There we go. Okay, we have our first video, and I want to erase this little mark there. Okay, this is great. Okay, let's go to our first video, intermediate roads and space cushion. Let me see if I can hit it with the eraser. I cannot. Here we go.
It is critical to leave a safe cushion of space.
Sorry, guys. I'm just going to try to learn how to do this real quick. See, all right. So I'm going to go back to this. All right. I'm just learning how to do this at the same time here, because I do want to be able to mark up my thing if I can. Okay. So let me have this, and we're gonna. No, okay. All right. So I'm just learning how to do this, guys. Okay. So we're gonna go to our show, and I'll be using the pen along with it.
It also helps the driver with other skills.
That's vitally important for us, and I understand in in environments where we have a lot of traffic, like a big volume of traffic, and I know this can certainly be the case on certain streets at certain times in Staten Island. But really, we want to work on developing the space cushion of 1 second for every 10 miles. Okay, please keep that in mind.
So pick a landmark like a street or something. We're traveling. So be sure that.
Let's stop right there, and let me ask you this question just to review. How do we measure how much space? How much space do we need? How do we measure that? Take a second, answer that question. Okay, I'm going to start back up. You can keep it on pause if you need more time. All right, the way we measure that is by using a post, some type of object on the side of the road. And when the car or vehicle ahead of us clears that post, we can start counting 1001, 1002. For every 10 miles, we want to have 1 whole second of space cushion. Okay.
During your practice drive on have your teams.
I'm going to interrupt that just for a second. Guys, if you haven't done this, and I apologize for not recommending this sooner. One way to it's really hard to get cars behind you to give you more space. I totally understand. And I'll give you one tip for how to do it is to One, you can take your foot off the accelerator, and that's going to start slowing down your car and kind of look at them. Are they going to respond? They should be responding and maintaining that space, whatever they've created for themselves, and taking their foot off the accelerator too. They might get annoyed with you and then try to pass you, which is fine, usually. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can actually do that and then tap on the brakes. So you're not actually using the brakes, you're tapping on it to indicate to them that you're slow and you want to be slow. Okay. That again should trigger a reaction from them to give you more space too. They're going to use their brakes when they see your brake lights turn on, especially if they're following close behind you. So it's a little tip for getting people to stop tailgating you. Okay. Now, here's another great thing, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. You have to wait for it to come in the mail, but I strongly recommend you order magnets for your car and to use them especially on the back and on the sides too, that say student driver. I guarantee you it will instantly get drivers to give you more space. It works like a charm. And guys, you can literally use your student driver magnets all the way through until you get your until you do the road tests. Okay. And it will always get you more space. It will get you a little bit more, kind of comfort and respect on the road. There will be less honking at you while you're practicing and learning. I totally recommend it. Okay. So I'm just going to continue playing now.
So may not monitor the space behind. It's a good feeling.
Okay.
It is cool.
And that is one of our absolute key ingredients to driving safely and defensively. It's creating and maintaining our space cushions and recognizing and monitoring them at all times. Being able to identify, create, and monitor our space cushions is key to safe driving, defensive driving, because it almost always allows us enough time to bring our car down to zero or to make some emergency maneuver to avoid some collision of some sort. Okay. So this is like vitally important. It's one of our very key ingredients to driver education.
It is critical to leave.
I can move. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, guys, and I'm going to read the brainstorming activity, and then I'm going to stop here, and that's going to be the end of this Screencastify part 1, and there will be a part 2 coming up. So this is a brainstorm activity. Working in small groups, discuss how vehicle speed, physical environment, and weather conditions affect visual space and following distance. Explain how you would determine safe visual space and following distance in rain, snow, or when driving in heavy traffic. Okay. So we experienced quite a lot of the snow not that long ago, right in Staten Island, right in New York City and New Jersey. All right. Now that we know what visual space is, right, we're talking about our space cushion, we can now add the factors of bad weather conditions to our space cushion, right? Physical environment is going to be like the type of road surface we have, okay? So, and what's on top of it, if it's snow or slush. So, in this activity, if we haven't done it already, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and you're going to discuss this for a couple minutes, and then we'll come together as a group. And here's where I'm going to stop part one of this screencastify.